Hello everyone, it's Greg from Edinburgh Renaissance Fencing Academy here. Today's video is going to be all about the martial culture of Renaissance courts. And in order to discuss this, I'm going to be drawing on this book, which is Il Cortegiano in the original Italian, or the Book of the Courtier, to give it its English language title. So it was written by Baldesar Castilgione. So he was a well-respected writer and philosopher in early 16th century Italy. So before we talk about Castiglione's book and how it relates to historical fencing, we need to first define what a courtier is. So of course a courtier is a gentleman or lady present at the court of an important nobleman, such as a duke, prince, king, or even a cardinal or somebody like that. In modern culture, we tend to think of courtiers in a very negative way. So we might think of them as being rather frivolous people who are just kind of hanging around, living off the money of their patron, maybe more interested in partying and fashion and gossiping than doing anything practical. Now, there must, of course, have been plenty of people like that at the courts of the Renaissance world, but we should remember that, that these courts were effectively the government of states in those days. And so the courtiers, the members of the court, were actually really important people in society and were often given roles in government. So they could become treasurers or stewards or diplomats or military commanders on behalf of the patron nobleman or noblewoman who they were serving. So Castiglione's book describes the Renaissance Italian ideal of the courtier. So it sets out in an allegorical conversation the characteristics which this supposedly perfect courtier would possess. So it's an ideal, a goal of Renaissance culture to be like this hypothetical person. So how does this relate to fencing and the study of historical fencing? A lot of fencing treatises in the Renaissance and early modern eras in particular were aimed at courtiers. The fencing masters who published books were often patronized by courtiers or noblemen themselves. Some fencing masters actually taught at court. So there was quite a strong connection between fencing in the original historical periods and courtier life. So as part of developing a deeper understanding of historical fencing and its context and culture, it is quite a good idea to try to understand this concept of courtiers and the ideal behavior, the ethics, the code of a courtier. Okay, so in the next part of the video, I'm going to read out a few extracts from the book so we can analyze them a little bit. But the first thing to say is it's a reasonably sizable work. And as you can surmise from its length, the perfect courtier was expected to have a wide education in a range of subjects. So this person was really genuinely expected to be highly cultured and to understand literature and fashion and dancing and politics and all manner of subjects. So I'm not going to talk about all of those things in today's video because this is a fencing focused channel. So what I'm going to read out now are a few extracts which talk about martial culture. So let's find the first one here. Here we go. But to come to specific details, I judge that the first and true profession of the courtier must be that of arms, and this, above everything else, I wish him to pursue vigorously. Let him also stand out from the rest as enterprising, bold, and loyal to whomever he serves. And he will win a good reputation by demonstrating these qualities whenever and wherever possible, since failure to do so always incurs the gravest censure. Once the reputation of a gentleman at arms has been stained through cowardice or some other reproachful behaviour, even if only once, it always remains defiled in the eyes of the world and covered with ignominy. The more our courtier excels in this art, therefore, the more praise he will deserve. Okay, so our first extract is basically saying that while the courtier should have a knowledge of all these other cultural things, when it comes to actually pursuing a profession, the profession should be a military one. And that's clear. So these people, or the ideal of these people, were not frivolous characters. They were expected to have military experience and military skills and to demonstrate it, to demonstrate bravery. Okay, let's proceed with the next extract. Here we go. So in this part, the writer, or the speaker rather, in this dialogue, is talking about physical characteristics of the perfect courtier. And he says, the courtier should be well built, and I would have him demonstrate strength and lightness and suppleness, and be good at all the physical exercises befitting a warrior. Here, I believe, his first duty is to know how to handle expertly every kind of weapon, either on foot or mounted, to understand all their finer points, and to be especially well informed about all those weapons commonly used among gentlemen. For, apart from their use in war, when perhaps the finer points may be neglected, often differences arise between one gentleman and another and lead to duels, and very often the weapons used are those that come immediately to hand. So, for safety's sake, it is important to know about them. Okay, so some very practical reasons for learning the skill of weapons. You may be called on to fight at any time. And you should have the physical fitness and the technical knowledge and the bravery to be able to use them properly. Okay, next extract. He should always show readiness and courage, and he should not behave like those who are always quibbling and arguing over points of honour, and when they have the choice of weapons, select those which can neither cut nor prick, arm themselves as if they had to face a cannonade, and, thinking it enough if they are not defeated, retreat all the time and keep on the defensive, giving proof of utter cowardice, and in this way making themselves the sport of children. Okay, so now we're talking about the attitude, the martial attitude of the courtier. They should be ready to fight to demonstrate bravery in the correct circumstances. So not to go about arguing with people willy-nilly and then covering themselves in as much protection as possible, spend the entire ensuing fight running away just to avoid danger and death. No, the courtier should fight only when it's necessary, but in that case should be brave and confront danger head on and fight to the best of his ability to try to overcome the foe. Okay, the last extract I want to read out for today is talking about grace. And this is a very key topic within the book of the Courtier in general, because the ideal courtier should behave gracefully in all aspects of his or her life. Okay, now here's the extract. To give other examples, consider a man using weapons and about to throw a dart or handle a sword or some other weapon. If, without thinking about it, he casually takes up a position at the ready, so naturally that it seems as if his whole body assumes the right posture without any strain, then even if he does nothing more, he demonstrates that he is in complete command of what he is doing. Similarly, in dancing, a single step, a single unforced and graceful movement of the body at once demonstrates the skill of the dancer. Okay, so now we're talking about the physical application of the courtier's skills, particularly in a fencing situation. He should be graceful and confident, so not angry, not tense, but should come on guard with a complete control of his body to demonstrate his command, to demonstrate his elegance, to demonstrate his grace. And a very clear analogy there, comparing swordsmanship and dancing with that regard. Okay, so in conclusion then, the perfect courtier was a martial character who knew how to use weapons, who was physically prepared to do so, and who approached combat with bravery and grace. And this was all part of essentially the honour code of the gentlemen of the era. So I think it's important to bear this in mind when we train in these historical martial arts in a modern day environment. On the one hand, it's easy to think just about the technical aspects of how you parry and how you riposte and so on. But a martial art is more than just moves and techniques. It's a culture, it's a complete philosophy. And you can't really, truly, in my opinion anyway, divorce the philosophy of the art from the techniques of the art. So I think that's something really interesting to think about as part of your regular practice. And in particular, I would encourage you all, when you come to free fencing, to try to remember this mindset of grace and confidence, and showing bravery to demonstrate your character as a courtier, as a gentleman. Okay, so that's it for today. Hopefully that was interesting for you, and hopefully it helps you immerse yourself just a little bit more in the Renaissance culture that goes alongside our art. Take care, everyone. I'll be back soon with another video. Bye for now.